Wildcard weekend is over and the divisional round starts tomorrow. I'm going to really quick go over all of the wildcard round matchups, and then I'll get into the divisional round matchups, and then I will kind of single in on the Green Bay Packers matchup. So let's get into it. The first matchup of wildcard weekend took place last Saturday at 3:30. That one was between the five-seeded Las Vegas Raiders, and they traveled to Cincinnati to take on the fourth-seeded Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals ended up winning this game 26 to 19. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. They won 26 to 19. Cincinnati gets their first playoff win in I think 30 years, 31. I can't remember the exact number, but they get their first win since I believe the early 90s. So good for them. Joe Burrow looks like he's going to be a pretty solid quarterback in this league, and yeah, I think Cincinnati's got a great future. Probably won't win it all this year, but hey, you never know what'll happen. And good for them that they get their first playoff win. The next matchup, the game that took place after that on Saturday, took place at 7:15. That one was between the six-seeded New England Patriots as they traveled to Buffalo to take on the third-seeded Buffalo Bills. AFC East divisional rivals in this game, and Buffalo completely destroyed New England. That game ended at a final score of 47 to 17. I think Josh Allen went off. He's a dual threat. He's a mobile quarterback. He can run and pass. And New England, we'll see how Mac Jones develops. Maybe they kind of restart their dynasty. But as for this year, they're not going anywhere. Buffalo took care of New England. We won't have to see New England win again. Let's see. The next matchup took place on Sunday at noon. The seven-seeded Philadelphia Eagles traveled to Tampa Bay to take on the second-seeded Buccaneers. Tampa Bay won this game 31 to 15. I pretty much figured Tampa Bay would win this game 31-15. I think Philadelphia scored at the end in garbage time, so it was more 31 to 7, 31 to 8. I can't remember the exact. 31 to 7, I think, until that kind of garbage time touchdown. Philadelphia, I think, does have a good future. They do have a pretty good stash of first-round picks that they got from trades and whatnot. And I think Jalen Hurts, while he might not be a superstar, he is a serviceable QB for the next couple years until they either draft one, maybe they go out in free agency and get a big-time quarterback. But for now, I think Jalen Hurts is fine. He did, I don't know, people weren't so high on him going into the season, and then kind of midway through the season, they kind of figured out their offense. And like I said, I think Jalen Hurts, he's a serviceable QB for the next couple years until they either see Jalen Hurts develop and maybe they commit to him as a franchise QB, or they go out and use one of those first round picks to draft a QB for the future. This year's draft class isn't so great in terms of quarterbacks. That was last year's draft, of course. But we'll see. We'll see what Philadelphia does. Great future, but for now, Tampa Bay takes care of Philadelphia, and Tampa Bay moves on to the divisional round. The game that took place after that, also on the NFC side of things, took place at 3:30. That was between six-seeded San Francisco 49ers. They traveled to Dallas to take on the third-seeded Cowboys, and San Francisco actually came up with the upset. The final score was 23 to 17. Dallas had a very questionable call. They decided to run the ball up the middle. Dak Prescott ran the ball on like a quarterback draw with about 15 seconds left. They had no timeouts, and they were unable to spike it and stop the clock in time. A lot of questions regarding that one. Who called the play? What was Mike McCarthy thinking? I mean, the coach is Mike McCarthy, so that's kind of your answer there. I don't want to say I'd be surprised if Mike McCarthy gets fired. However, I do think he is on the hot seat, and I think there's a lot of blame at him. We'll see what Dallas does head coaching wise, but when you have Mike McCarthy as your head coach, don't expect a whole lot. Let's see, and then the final wild card matchup took place on Monday night, the first ever wild card game that took place on a Monday. Monday Night Football, 7:15 p.m. That took place. The five-seeded Arizona Cardinals traveled to LA to take on the Los Angeles Rams, who are the four seed, and the Los Angeles Rams won this game 34-11. Um, I mean, what else is there to say other than the Los Angeles Rams defense? They showed up, they shut down Kyler Murray and that Arizona offense, and they move on to the divisional round. I don't have too much more to say about those matchups other than that. So, in conclusion, Cincinnati, Buffalo, Kansas City on the AFC side advance, and then Tennessee has the one seed, so they have a bye. And then on the NFC side of things, Green Bay got the one seed, and then second seeded Tampa Bay, six seeded San Francisco, and four seeded Los Angeles move on to the divisional round. Now, in the divisional round, which starts tomorrow, Saturday, the first game that takes place is the Cincinnati Bengals travel to Tennessee to take on the top-seeded Titans, and I guess I'll do predictions. This one is kind of hard to predict because Tennessee is going to get Derrick Henry back, but Cincinnati comes in with a very high-caliber offense, and we'll see how the defenses hold up. We'll see how Tennessee defends against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals passing attack, and then we'll also see how Cincinnati defends against the return of King Henry. Um, yeah, I don't really know if I can make a pick either way. I'm just gonna say we're gonna wait and see what happens with this one. That's tomorrow's first game at 3:30 p.m. And then the night game on tomorrow, Saturday, is the six-seeded San Francisco 49ers travel to Green Bay to take on the Green Bay Packers. One interesting stat that I can remember is Jimmy Garoppolo, San Francisco 49ers starting quarterback. He has not thrown a pass in under 40-degree weather. So Jimmy Garoppolo, he'll have to learn how to play in the cold. The only thing that would kind of give me cause for concern is San Francisco's running game and their ability to control the clock. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, I guess I might talk a little bit more about this game a little bit later, but for now we'll move on. Sunday's divisional round games. The first one at 2 p.m. The four-seeded Los Angeles Rams travel all the way across the country to take on the second-seeded Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 2 p.m. I'm Los Angeles Rams defense versus Tampa Bay's offense. I mean, Tampa Bay's got a pretty good defense. LA's got a okay offense. But I think it's going to come down to obviously who plays better defense, because you know what they say, defense wins championships. I think LA's got a better defense, although I do think Tampa Bay's got a better offense. This one should be a pretty good matchup, and I don't want to look past San Francisco, but as a Packer fan, I will be keeping an eye on this one. Obviously, we'll know after tomorrow if Green Bay does advance or not, but even if Green Bay doesn't advance, I'll still be keeping an eye on this one between LA and Tampa Bay. And then closing out the divisional round on the AFC side of things, at 5:30 p.m., the third-seeded Buffalo Bills will travel to Kansas City to take on the second-seeded Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are favored by 3 points right now. It is in Kansas City, so advantage them. That is a very loud stadium, Arrowhead. They have some pretty good fans, pretty loud and rowdy fans. But Buffalo, you know how their fans are. They're pretty loud and crazy as well. I would predict that Kansas City wins this game, but I can honestly see it going either way. So we'll see what happens there. And then, yeah, that's it for the divisional round matchups. Now, looking specifically at the San Francisco-Green Bay matchup, the Green Bay Packers this past week, they have activated Randall Cobb, Zadarius Smith, and Whitney Mercilus from the IR. Randall Cobb, I believe, was activated off the IR yesterday, and then Zadarius Smith and Whitney Mercilus were activated off the IR today on Friday, a day before the game tomorrow night. David Bakhtiari and Jair Alexander were activated off of IR either before the Detroit game, the last game of the regular season, and I think Jair was activated right after the game. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it worked out. So they have both been practicing, and they should be available for tomorrow. Also available for tomorrow, Billy Turner I believe he's a starting right tackle. He will be available tomorrow. So the Packers get two starting offensive linemen back. They also get two pass rushers and Randall Cobb. Now, Randall Cobb isn't necessarily expected to do a whole bunch. Packers don't expect a lot out of him, but it is nice to have him back, and he does know how to play with Rodgers. He's got that chemistry. We've seen it in the past, 2013, Week 17 against Chicago to win the NFC North, and then 2018, Week 1, he made that double move to also win the game against the Bears. Something about Cobb playing against the Bears, I don't know what it is. But yeah, it'll be nice to have him back. If anything, it's good for morale to have him on the sidelines in uniform. And I mean, I hope as a fan that he'll be able to get out and catch some passes. I know that the Packers will most likely target Devontae. He's the number one receiver on the team, and as a biased opinion, even unbiased, I mean, you kind of have to put Adams as the number one receiver in the league. But that's just me. I don't really see how anyone else could be the top receiver. Maybe Cooper Kupp, but I think Devontae Adams is better. But that's besides the point. Basically, what I'm getting at is the Packers are getting a lot of players back just in time for the playoffs. As mentioned, Darius Smith, Whitney Merciless. Whitney Merciless, who actually had torn biceps, which I believe that injury occurred early November. I want to say the November 7th game against Kansas City. Otherwise, it was a week before in Arizona on October 28th. It was either end of October, early November. Whitney Merciless tore his biceps, which normally would be a season-ending injury. However, by some miracle, he was able to, I believe he would have had to get surgery on that, repaired the bicep, and he is back just in time to help that Packers pass rush for this playoff run. Obviously, Rashawn Gary, he's been the breakout star of the year. He's an excellent complementary piece along with the Smith Bros. And then now that we're getting Whitney Merciless back, the Packers have 4 legit pass rushers. And then Devondre Campbell as well. Devondre Campbell has done an excellent job manning the middle of the field on that defensive side of the ball. And the Packers, I think, they look so much better on defense with Devondre Campbell. And then in the secondary, the Packers have Rasul Douglas. They're also getting Jair Alexander back. Kevin King, who was not great last year, but he has improved this season, and he he's a decent secondary player. I believe the Packers are also getting Chandon Sullivan back. He was injured. I can't remember exactly for what, but he's a good piece to have in there in like dime packages where they have 6 defensive backs out there to play pass coverage. Should the Packers need to, I would expect San Francisco to rely heavily on their run, at least early on in the game. That's kind of the San Francisco way. They rely on the run. They do have a pretty solid offensive line, but they rely on the run. They run the clock, and they try to keep the opposing offense on the field, which honestly, if I'm the coach or if I'm anyone on San Francisco, you got to do your best to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field, because it's really hard to stop Aaron Rodgers when he's on the field. So the best chance you have at defeating Aaron Rodgers is to keep him off of the field. And of course you do that by running the ball, just 4 yards of play, run the clock, long, sustained 7-8 minute drives, drive the ball down the field. Stating the obvious here, but for those who might be more casual football fans, that's kind of the thought process, I suppose, is how you would defeat Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, Packers are getting a bunch of players off of IR. In terms of confidence on a scale of like 1 to 10, it being in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers kind of does have that chip on his shoulder, and I kind of get this team, like what I've seen in interviews and all that stuff. This team just wants it really bad. Randall Cobb wants it really bad. Obviously, Rodgers wants to win more championships. Devontae, he wants to win that championship. I mean, who doesn't want to win a championship? But you know what I'm saying? Like, this team just really wants it. And then, like in years past, in 2019, an NFC Championship game, the Packers lost because San Francisco ran the ball and had those 8-minute drives. And then last year in the 2020 season, January of 2021, the Packers just didn't have any secondary. They're also without David Bakhtiari. But the additions of Rasul Douglas in the secondary and Devondre Campbell in the middle of the field, playing kind of a field general role at the middle linebacker position, I think that just puts the Packers defense kind of over the hump. And the Packers have a great defense, and now that they have everyone healthy again, um, I mean, I don't know what to say. I think this Packers defense is much improved over the past few years, and I think I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I mean, this is the year, in my belief, that the Packers do make it past that NFC Championship game, because the Packers have lost the last four championship games that they've been in: 2014 against Seattle, 2016 against Atlanta, 2019 against San Francisco, and 2020 against Tampa Bay. I sincerely hope and I believe that this is the year the Packers finally do make it to the Super Bowl. But of course, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. They have to take care of San Francisco tomorrow night first. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't have a prediction ready off the top of my head. Um, I want to say it's going to be somewhere in like the 31 to like 20, maybe like a 34 to 23 game. I think obviously I want the Packers to win by like three scores and kind of send a message to the rest of the NFL that hey, we're here to play and we're not messing around. But San Francisco, they did take care of Dallas last week, and San Francisco does have a pretty solid pass rush. I know their secondary is a bit more average, but that pass rush is pretty scary, or it can be at least. We'll see how Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, I think their linebacker, and then Nick Bosa, their star pass rusher. We'll see if they're healthy. I believe they're going to try to play Nick Bosa tomorrow. He does have to clear concussion protocol. I haven't looked at an injury report yet, so I do apologize for that. Um, but I would assume that if he clears concussion protocol, that he will play. Not sure if they will limit his snaps at all or not. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm gonna quit rambling now. Go Pack, go! Obviously, I hope that Green Bay gets the job done. I think they can. I don't want to overlook San Francisco, but I honestly do believe that this is the year the Packers get it done. But of course, you got to take it one game at a time. This is the NFL playoffs. Anything can happen at any time, and we just got to sit back. We got to watch the game and see how it unfolds, and we'll go from there. Um, I will, of course, update you guys later on. Let's enjoy this divisional round. Go Pack, go, and I'll see you guys later.